Hello, my name is Neon and I'm an inspiring novelist. I'll do a tier list of many different Japanese manga. Let me get this clear. Manga, not anime. I'll do Demon Slayer manga, not anime. So all these amazing animation will not be rated. Instead, the sloppy drawing will be. In this tier list, I'll make a bunch of videos because I want to talk about the manga thoroughly and not just on the surface. So one manga might just take 10 minutes or so. Now, I've read many shonen and seinen, but I won't rate all of them because, for example, some manga like Fullmetal Alchemist, I've only read half of it, so any manga that I didn't read completely, I won't rate them. However, I will include unfinished manga like Hunter x Hunter or Berserk because they're long enough that tell almost complete stories. Also not include mangas that I've read a long time ago, like Tokyo Ghoul or Himura Kenshin. Maybe I'll read them again later and put them on the tier list. So I'll try to talk less about the plot, but there will certainly be spoilers, so spoiler alert. Keep the video if you don't want any spoilers for the mangas that you haven't read. When I was a child, I never really understand the true stories of the manga. Today, I'll talk about the 3 mangas that made me start reading manga in a serious manner. So without further ado, let's get to the tier list. So I've read manga when I was like 8. I read Hunter x Hunter and Fullmetal Alchemist, Tokyo Ghoul. Later than that, I shouldn't be reading them at that age. Then there was a point that I forgot manga completely until I was like 16 or so. And the first manga I read was Demon Slayer. So there are many thumbnail baits on YouTube, but this is not one of them. Sorry, I know many will disagree with this, but Koyoharu Gotoge, Kimetsu no Yaiba, Demon Slayer, C tier. I really liked Demon Slayer when I was 16, and being C tier doesn't mean it's bad. It's just that I read so many manga after Demon Slayer and it's so overwhelming. I mean, the art will definitely affect where it's placed on the list, and people say as long as you have a good plot, the art doesn't matter, but no. Just no. Like, there's a reason why manga are drawn and not written in words. The joy at the first few volumes of Demon Slayer is just not appealing. At least the fight scenes are understandable, and the art has been improving at a drastic pace. So it's not a huge problem. And however, the plot will always be the most important aspect in any fictional artwork. And Demon Slayer's plot is good, but it's a hella simple one. It's basically demons eating humans are bad, and demon slayers use special materials to forge weapons to hunt down the demons. So if the plot has nothing new at all, why is this manga so popular? Because of the anime? Because of the flashbacks. So Demon Slayer is a story with basic goals, simple combat systems, and simple characters. But more depths were given to the characters via the flashbacks. And flashbacks, many of us know, is the easiest yet the most effective way to make audience emotionally connected to the characters. The author Koyoharu is a master at flashbacks, especially when it comes to villains. So Daki and Gyotaro have one of my favorite flashbacks ever. And Akaza, oh man, I'm not a fan of villains turning into good guys, but Akaza's character is just so damn well written. And when Akaza was introduced, he already showed us his respect for martial arts and making the audience learn his upright attitude. Later, he praised our main character Tanjiro for his growth. And then a flashback that explains who he is. Lastly, the fact that he doesn't kill or eat women, which is a cherry on top. The flashback links to his character. It explains everything he does and like hating people who are weak. And the same goes for an overlooked character, Han Tengu. His flashback was short but amazing. A good flashback doesn't need to be long. So you see, and you can't just rely on flashbacks to tell stories. If the audience can't feel attached to the characters based on their actions, personalities, or beliefs, and can only be attached through flashbacks, that is a fail. And it happened to almost every single character in Demon Slayer. We feel related to the characters purely because of sympathy and comedy. To this day, I still don't know why Serpent Pillar, Iguru Abane, even exists in this manga. The story between Zenitsu and Tegaku just isn't appealing, and I don't even think it is necessary. The emotions in flashbacks are temporary, and what accompanies us is the main story. So never rely on flashback. And let's talk about the combat system. They have these different breathing techniques such as fire, water, wind. The demons, on the other hand, have many cool abilities that I think sound novel and awesome. However, our main protagonist, Tanjiro, he has the sun breathing, and it was a lost technique that found like eras ago. First breathing technique of all breathing, founded by the strongest human on earth. And it was the only breathing style that does something different. That is to burn the demons and then slow their regeneration. And except for the visuals, the different breathing techniques have nothing different. While water breathing does have special techniques, but the wiggly sword from the Serpent Pillar didn't show any uniqueness, same as Mitsuri's whip-like sword. The worst part is the 13th form of sun breathing. So it was the combination of the previous tail forms and a hidden techniques, and the author didn't even draw the visual of that combination. So instead, we only got this. I was mad when I reread this for this video. There was so many setup about how OP the 13th form is, and we got nothing. Instead of more praise about Kamado's poison, I only want 13 panels of this chapter. 12 sincerely drawn 12 forms of the sun breathing, and one amazing flame effect of all forms together that paint the 13th form. Then the battle are just stupid. The Demon Slayers have these crows that deliver messages, and let me tell you, they didn't use the crows at all. Why is the 6th upper moon, Gyotaro and Daki, anything new to the Demon Slayer? After centuries of the creation of Demon Slayer corps, why don't they have anything countering the upper moon's ability? Were all former pillars useless? They have such convenient way to deliver messages like the crows. And why don't the Demon Slayers know anything? So speaking of useless, no one but the pillars and our 5 protagonists did anything. Not even the former pillars who trained our protagonists. And this thing, can we just remove this thing forever out of the manga? Your parents probably died. That's why you joined the Demon Slayer corps. Your karmas are dying around you, and you should never fight an opponent you know nothing of. So why the fuck are you so arrogant and fighting for money and being so reckless? The scene where they fought Muzan, all the Demon Slayers were using their bodies to protect the pillars. Sorry, I don't feel anything for them. I don't feel bad for them because they are useless. They are not showing anything they've learned or their breathing techniques. If they have what it takes to fucking teleport near the pillars and protect them, they can definitely do something to Muzan. This is why when the Kakushi were helping, I didn't feel the same way. Because they were supposed to be the support, and they did more than what they were asked. Lastly, Muzan. The entire manga's big bad is a fucking idiot. I won't go into details, but if you just think, he had a million ways to win since Demon Slayer were formed, and he didn't use any of them. If he had what it takes to gather all his demons in the Infinite Castle, then he absolutely had the chance to wipe out the entire Demon Slayer corps. Muzan is designed to be a coward, and sure, the corps can be rebuilt, but come on. This manga has so many ups and downs, and for me, the character, battle system, and the drawing styles are the downs. And I believe it even failed as a normally brainless action shonen. So however, the emotional aspect and some characters' depths with the ups. It's definitely saved it from being D-tier. Either way, I still think if it weren't for the anime, nobody will remember this manga. So drawing is a key factor in manga. Like a book without literary devices, it's just trash. That's why the original One Punch Man is a no for me. Many said Murata's new One Punch Man manga ruined the original author's One story. Shit talking about Murata and praising One like a god. You're just probably following the trend and following what everyone is saying on the internet. I doubt that you will choose One's One Punch Man's rather than Murata's. One and Yusuke Murata, One Punch Man, B tier. One Punch Man is about different heroes fighting monsters. Our protagonist, Saitama, is an overpowered boat guy that obliterates monsters with one punch. We've had overpowered characters before, but Saitama is one of the first and he is the main character. Since I'm talking about Murata and not One's One Punch Man, drawing style is fucking awesome. Look at all these details, look at the clean lining, the creative composition, the big scenes, the explosive pressure and movements. The clear and easy to understand framing is just perfect. Am I going to compare it with Demon Slayer? The drawing is definitely what separates them. Remember how everyone in Demon Slayer is useless? Murata added a few chapters just to let the small characters shine, simultaneously showing how the lower class heroes are not useless, and showing the difference between them and the S-rank heroes. Remember how this guy got shit on in Demon Slayer? Golden Ball actually gave Garo some challenge. When I read that, I was like, damn, Golden Ball is quite badass. However, One Punch Man has also a very dual battle system. Robots, muscles, martial arts or swords, psychic powers, and basically it. Unlike Demon Slayer, even the monsters in One Punch Man lacks creativity. Their designs are cool, but their abilities are easy to imagine and barely have anything new. Overall, the Boros arc are ranked B tier. And before Monster Association arc, chapter 78 all the way to chapter 170, we have Garo arc, or so-called Super Fight Tournament arc. I will rank it as high A. One of my favorite characters, King, was introduced. He had a great character development, as well as Suryo, I don't know how to pronounce this guy's name. And we were told about Garo's motives, and what he did based on his reason. From beating up the tanked up master, to saving that little boy from the heroes. His flashbacks speaks for his action. When Genos, Bang, and Bomb fought the Elder Centipede, that got my blood flowing. The emotional aspects are not done by flashback, or characters we know who died, or things like that. Instead, we felt emotional because of girls' arc's meaning, the character's motive, and what they learned. It's just a more complex way to stir up emotions. Girls' arc, undoubtedly, an A tier for me. And then we have Monster Association arc. The beginning was awesome, don't get me wrong. The individual fights, Zombie Man being a badass, and Monster King's design, everything was awesome. And then they got to the surface. Murata did not know where the plot is gonna go. The fight between Goro and Bang is just mediocre. The acid throw ugly was not even necessary, and the whole flashbacks of Bang is just stupid and probably improvised on the spot. Like the exploding heart, whatever martial art techniques, that did nothing. We don't need a whole chapter explaining that. And Murata tried to give Bang some character development. It just cannot function in one chapter. If you're gonna give this old man an entirely new character in the past, then use some time to build it, not just abruptly saying he used to be a prick. Why did I say that Murata, he himself doesn't know where the plot is going? Because he had literally been posting, remaking a bunch of re-uploads with completely changed chapters, any fictional writers. Don't do that. I did find the Sage, Centipede, and the Galaxy Girl interesting though. Remember that awesome girl arc? I later learned that it wasn't written by Murata. It was directed by One instead. And that kind of ruins it because that just shows how bad Murata is at writing. Just a terrible storyteller. One was the one who wrote that genius girls arc. And then we had post Monster Association arc, the ninja arcs. Just don't read it. I stopped reading it there, and I don't think I'll continue. When the author has no idea what he is writing, ninja arc, F tier. And if I continue, that will probably just like ruin the whole manga, like the whole hard work of Boros arc and Goro's arc, and turn it into like my personal C tier manga. But for where I pause, I think B tier is a good placement. There is a mangaka who inspired me, and I'm ambitious to become the novelist version of him. And he plays music too, and is it possible to draw 3 mangas at the same time and keep the quality? Is it possible to have every single original manga to be praised by everyone? Although I've only read 1 manga from him, I cannot wait to read the other 2 manga from him. Naoki Urasawa, Monster, S tier.
Dr. Tenma, for you, all lives are equal. That's why I came back to life. But you have noticed by now, haven't you? The only thing all humans are equal in is death.
I was just fucking around. I wanted to say that line. Johan is so fucking cool. What is the nature of good and evil? This manga explores exactly that. It is a story of neurosurgeon Tenma saved a little serial killer, Johan, who grew into a big serial killer 9 years later. A chain of incidents happened, thus Tenma put down the scalpel and picked up a gun, aiming to not save lives, instead to kill the serial killer that he once brought back to life. If this thing doesn't intrigue you, then nothing would. However, when people say that this manga is about history and psychology, you'll probably lose interest. I must say, this was the most serious manga I've ever read and I loved it. The drawing style is constant with no errors. No strokes are confusing, and the framing tells the story perfectly. So the meaning, Demon Slayer has your typical never give up kind of depth. One Punch Man give insights to what true hero is from Saitama and Garo. And Monster, oh, I don't think being a shonen is an excuse for having less depth than seinen. What is good and evil? A protagonist and antagonist, Tenma and Johan, perfectly had that contrast.
Is the only thing all humans are equal in is death?
Tenma believes that every life has value. The beauty of humanity, Grimmer, who had the same tragic past as Johan, didn't fall into darkness. Lung, who wanted justice like Tenma, was neglecting his wife and child because of his obsession in his work. Since I mentioned them, I'm just gonna say I have 5 S-tier mangas in my head. 1 I love because of its meaning.
1 I love because of its new way to convey a story.
1 I love because of its innovative concept, and 1 I love because of its plot. And Monster, I love it because of its characters. Characters that are written like to be stupidly good and kind are just sometimes like off-putting. However, Tenma is beautifully written. In contrast to that, Johan is the idea of evil itself. But what about the side characters? The person who looked down on those who weren't born in an equally authoritative family had great redemption. Lung, the calm and devoted man with crazy IQ, who hunt down Tenma, apologized to Tenma as he parted with the shotgun. Robert, the unkillable machine with immense strength but also wits. Sung-ho deserves sympathy. Grimmer, the smiling but emotionless man with a monster residing within him. Pride for his deceased son during his last breath. I call them supporting characters or side characters, but there's a group that I call small characters, like Murata from Demon Slayer, other lower class heroes in One Punch Man. As for Monster, we had Mr. Russell from Five Sugar, we had Martin, the most romantic man, we had Ron, we had Jacob. These small characters, I can talk about them alone the entire night. I do like a book with a complexity, and shonen can be complex, but it's not really necessary. But anytime I read a book that doesn't require any brain, it just sometimes, I just feel like it lacks something. And speaking of complexity, the battle of wits in the sense of crime is Monster's battle system. Everyone, like every small or supporting characters, uses their brain during the battle. Richard, Julius, Rudy Gillen, Hans Stewart. Lack of IQ of the character is sometimes necessary for the plot, sometimes for comedic effect, but everyone is thinking in Monster. Another thing that is often overlooked is the dialogue. We don't need so much internal monologue during an intense fight. And the pacing in Monster is just perfect. The dialogues are also not out of place. Characters have their way of speaking, and they don't say any unnecessary thing, which I appreciate. Whether it's the story's flow, the simple but clear drawing, the complexity, the meaning. I do think Berserk has flaws. I do think Vagabond does something that doesn't feel right. But Monster, is this manga perfect? I really can't think of anything that I dislike from Monster. I suddenly recall why I love Tenma and Johan while editing. If you have seen this manga, tell me if you agree. Tenma told his former classmate that he was cheating on the exam too. Johan cried for Karo. His way to approach his target is sickening. That's it for today. Today I spoke of 3 mangas that made me treating manga like the real shit. But I was only 16 back then, ignoring the mangas I didn't fully understand what I read as a kid. Demon Slayer, One Punch Man, and Monster. The 3 manga that helped me begin this wonderful manga journey. Tell me if there's anything you disagree with me. I'll come back with another video about other mangas soon. And next video, I'll talk about 3 mangas that represents loneliness.
Found this day